Cruisers are one of the hardest motorcycle categories to rank because with cruisers, logic's only going to get you so far. They're not meant to be faster on a racetrack, nor are they the most practical. So honestly, I kind of struggle to understand why they exist. Some cruisers are genuinely fun to ride, others are total stinkers, and some are insanely overpriced, even as cosplay props for a guy named Darren who only wears flannel and drinks Black Rifle coffee. Have you seen what Harley charges for these things? It's insane. But alas, it is my duty, my responsibility to rank motorcycles for all of you. So I shall rank cruisers. We tried our best to break through the idiosyncrasies surrounding the category, and we'll be ranking these bikes based on style, performance, and value. No Big Daddy baggers, no Rebel 500s, just real deal cruisers for adults. Let's get started. All right, we're gonna kick off the very bottom of the list with none other than the Harley-Davidson Nightster 975. And I don't even think it's that controversial to put it here at the bottom. I imagine there are some Harley dads watching this video right now that's like, I don't like this Yami nerd that much, but dang, this crotch rocket joker finally got something right. Because Harley purists seem to dislike the Nightster as much as the general public, and I have never seen one out in public. One of the biggest drawbacks is that it's one of the least emotionally satisfying cruisers on the list, and that's a dangerous place to be in the realm of cruisers and Harleys. I mean, they don't have a whole lot else going on, right? They better be interesting. The Nightster uses Harley's liquid-cooled 975cc RevMax engine that makes 91 horsepower and 92 foot-pounds of torque. That's not too shabby for a modern liquid-cooled V-twin. It's certainly more technologically advanced than the air-cooled Sportster Evo motors could ever hope to be. But that sort of defeats the purpose. Harley modernized the Sportster for a category of buyer that was never interested in a Sportster to begin with. The Evo Sportster is a raw, charming, and endlessly customizable engine, and it's my favorite Harley-Davidson. The Nightster is better in most measurable ways, but it's also way less interesting. The styling looks really half-baked. I mean, the entire left side of the motorcycle looks like it wasn't finished rendering yet. It's too modern for the old-school heritage crowd and not exciting enough for the performance crowd. It might be cheap for Harley-Davidson, but it doesn't really scream value compared to bikes like the Rebel 1100 or the Indian Scout. This bike is best for riders who want a stripped-down Harley with more modern performance and an easier cost of entry compared to something like a Softail. I mean, the price on these are pretty good, it's hard to deny. But it's not for riders who want a classic air-cooled cruiser, the bike with the best value, or something with a really strong identity. It's not a bad bike, it just finds itself in kind of a weird no man's land where it's both too Harley and not Harley enough at the same time. Kind of crazy that they pulled that off. The Honda Rebel 1100 is one of the most rational cruisers currently being made, which is both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness. Because cruisers are notoriously irrational purchases. Well, you paid what for that paint option? Huh? I mean, I've said stuff like that. Because they're about style, experience, and identity, and it's pretty hard to put a price on the identity of a middle-aged man who, frankly, doesn't have a whole lot else going on. The Rebel 1100 challenges that status quo. I mean, Rebel is in the name after all. And honestly, they did a great job with it. It feels like a proper metric cruiser where Honda approached the segment from a new perspective, as opposed to just making a V-twin with fake cooling fins, chrome, and riveted leather. The Rebel uses the 1084cc parallel twin from the Africa Twin, making around 87 horsepower and 72 foot-pounds of torque. It's torquey, yet playful and lively the way that many old-school cruisers are not. I mean, this thing redlines at 8,000 RPM. That's like double the redline of most Harleys. Compared to most other bikes on the list today, the Rebel is pretty svelte, weighing in at just 490 pounds. It's got all that approachable goodness of the Rebel without feeling like it's made for babies. You can get the Rebel with Honda's automatic dual-clutch transmission if you're so inclined, or you can be a Giga Chad and get the manual instead. Now, like the Nightster, the Rebel's biggest weakness is its relative lack of character or emotional appeal in this category, which matters a lot to people who are shopping for cruisers. The Rebel 1100 is best for riders who want something with cruiser ergonomics, but DNA that doesn't feel so extremely foreign to regular motorcycles. It's not for riders who want old-school Americana, a lot of curb appeal, or tons of personalities. It's a very smart buy, but cruiser guys aren't exactly the smartest now, are they? And I honestly wish that they would make this bike in some more colors. I don't know why the Rebel is afraid of colors, like you're not gonna be masculine if you have a bike that isn't black. Come on. The Triumph Bonneville bobber is just fine, okay? It's just fine. I think a lot of the drawbacks come from the fact that it's just not a normal Bonneville. The classic Bonnie is great, it's timeless, charming, and cool, and the bobber takes that and just makes it feel a little silly. So many times when a company tries to appeal to an American cruiser buyer, it just ends up coming across as a little disingenuous and silly. But I will give Triumph credit. The bobber does find a way to look almost more authentic than any current Harley-Davidson does. It's got the solo seat, the spoked wheels, the chunky front tires. It almost looks like a Bonneville made a baby with a Janus and also a wheelbarrow. It uses the 1200cc parallel twin from the T120 that makes 77 ponies and 78 foot-pounds of torque. It's not a powerhouse by any means, but it's a smooth and charming engine that has some nice low-end grunt. This bike behaves about as well as any motorcycle with a 130 front tire and an 1.5 inch suspension travel can. If anything, you can respect Triumph's commitment to the bit. But I can't help but feel that this bike is aimed at a very specific buyer, one who likes classic British twins, but also likes super old school 1920s cruiser vibes so much that they're willing to spend 15 grand to get it. It's kind of just like a cool second bike for an older retired guy or something. The Bonneville bobber is best for riders who care about iconic throwback style but want double the power of a Royal Enfield. It's not for riders who want practicality, touring comfort, or maximum value for their dollar. Although I have to say, people who own bobbers from Triumph seem to really like them. I hear about them in the comments all the time. Right, now we gotta talk about some real bikes. The Indian Sport Chief is what happens when a company modernizes the American cruiser formula without optimizing it to the point of irrelevancy. It's like, what if we had a bike that looks classic and cool but could actually corner, kind of? It still looks the part of a proper cruiser with a big V-twin, a low seat, and cool Dynabro style T-bars, so everyone knows you went to Southern California one time like 20 years ago. The Sport Chief uses Indian's Thunderstroke engine because the only thing more masculine than cranking your hog with the boys is stroking your thunder. This is an 1890cc engine that makes 120 foot-pounds of torque and 76 horsepower to the rear wheel. Horsepower is torque multiplied by engine speed, right? So if my math is correct, that means this bike redlines at, 500 RPM? That can't be right. Regardless, torque is the name of the game with this engine, obviously. It's that big shove in the seat of your pants that make cruiser guys go gaga. And unlike a lot of traditional cruisers, the Sport Chief has been meaningfully outfitted with inverted KYB fork, dual Brembo calipers, and adjustable piggyback shocks. Styling goes a long way in this category, and Indian does a pretty good job with these bikes, we have to admit. They look pretty classic without being like full-on boomer spec. It's got enough heritage to satisfy the aesthetic requirements, but enough sporty touches that a person younger than 50 years old could imagine themselves riding one. If they could afford it, that is. The Sport Chief does run a pretty spicy 20 grand, so it's still a lot of money for what you're getting. The Sport Chief is best for riders who want a cruiser that isn't totally stuck in 1986. It's not for riders who want value, modern touches, or a bike that weighs less than 670 pounds. Moving on. All right, boys, let's talk about one of the biggest lies your riding friends will tell you. They'll call you over from the seat of their ZX6R and say, "Oh yeah, bro, I know some good roads around here." And then they take you on a 45-minute ride of suburban traffic lights, strip malls, and straight roads so boring you start contemplating selling your bike and becoming a one-wheeling techno-nihilist. That's exactly the kind of unfortunate outcome Calimoto prevents. Calimoto is built specifically for motorcycles, so instead of prioritizing the fastest or most efficient route like a normal GPS app, it actively searches for the kinds of roads riders actually want to be on. Twisty roads, scenic back roads, elevation changes, all the good stuff that makes you excited about riding in the first place. You can even customize how aggressive you want the route to be, from relaxed scenic cruising all the way up to, I hope your super courses are warm for today's ride. And one of my favorite features is the ability to save and revisit your best rides, because every rider's had the experience where you randomly stumble onto one of the greatest roads of all time, and then you immediately forget where it was 3 days later. Calimoto tracks it all for you automatically so the good rides don't disappear into the void forever. Hit the link in the description, download the app, and use one of the codes on the website to get either a 30-day free trial or 10% off of your first year. Thanks again to Calimoto for supporting the channel. Now let's get back to the show. The Harley-Davidson Sportster S is probably one of the weirder motorcycles they've ever made. It is maybe more important for what it represents than what it actually is. For decades, everyone was saying, Harley doesn't innovate, Harley doesn't modernize, Harley doesn't appeal to younger riders. So, at the drop of a hat, which is kind of crazy that they can just choose to do this whenever they want, they pulled a liquid-cooled 1252cc Rev Max engine out of thin air, like a bunny out of a hat. These Harley magicians were able to conjure this thing up. And yet, nobody cared. But if you grade it on a curve, it's one of the more impressive machines to come out of the Milwaukee factory. This bike makes 121 horsepower and 93 foot-pounds of torque, and by Harley standards, this thing's basically a Hayabusa. Unlike their air-cooled heritage products, the Sportster S can actually rev out further than 3,000 RPM. Getting a cruiser that can actually rev out completely changes the character of the machine. The engine alone is not what makes this bike novel for Harley, though. Its style and design is also pretty out of left field. It has a massive front tire, like a 160 section front tire. It's an SV650 rear tire they bolted to the front end. It's got a stubby tail, a tiny gas tank, and just weird proportions. And after decades of refusing to do anything modern, Harley-Davidson just took the Sportster S to 110%. It's not for everyone, but if you can get past the looks, it's pretty competent for a cruiser and kind of fits the bill. It has good power, decent brakes, and some modern electronics. But it's still a Harley. The suspension travel is poor, the fuel tank is tiny, the ergonomics can feel cramped and a bit strange depending on your size. The Sportster S is best for riders who want something more like a muscle cruiser without having an extra 1,000 cc's to manage. It's not for riders who want classic Harley character, long-distance comfort, or understated styling. But if you've ever wanted a motorcycle that was uglier than an Evo Sportster, but less ugly than a Diavel, well, you're in luck with the Sportster S. I feel like the Indian Scout owns the neutral good portion of the D&D cruiser alignment chart. It's not gonna rub the Harley guys the wrong way too badly. Sport bike guys will say, hey, at least that thing's not a Harley. And victory guys will say, Polaris will rot in hell for discontinuing the best American motorcycle company ever to exist on Earth. What is it with victory guys? They make even Magna owners look chill. The Scout uses a liquid-cooled V-twin that makes around 105 to 111 horsepower, depending on the trim. That's not too bad for a little 1250cc V-twin. Normally, you get to move on up to at least 2 liters of displacement on an American V-twin to crest triple digits on horsepower or torque. This engine revs out really nice and makes a pretty cool sound. Despite a healthy motor, the Scout is definitely still compromised by its geometry. It doesn't take much to start dragging hard parts in a corner. It does look pretty cool though, and much like the Chief, it looks classic without being too hokey. It feels more premium than something like the Nightster, which feels a little unfinished. The Scout has pretty broad appeal, and each trim offers even more unique or specialized style. Old dudes like the Scout, as do bike talk chicks, as do guys that wear NBT riding pants and way too much gold jewelry. The Scout is best for riders who want a classic American cruiser with a genuinely modern performance and broad appeal. It's not for riders who want old school air-cooled mechanical purity or the comfort of a bigger bike. The Scout can start to feel pretty cramped pretty quickly, but if you want one of the best all-around cruisers currently in production, the Scout is pretty hard to argue against. And I actually had one of these bikes way back in 2020, and it first started opening my eyes that cruisers could be more than just air-cooled dumb Harley-Davidsons. The Ducati Diavel V4 is what happened when Italians looked at the American cruiser and said, "You silly cowboys, look how foolish you look." The Diavel is barely considered to be a cruiser, yet it still lives in the silver podium position. Maybe there's something kind of poetic about that. The best cruisers are barely cruisers at all. The Diavel is more like a hyper-naked motorcycle with diesel brand jeans, expensive cologne, and a wife who does OnlyFans. It uses Ducati's 1158cc Gran Turismo V4 that's good for about 168 horsepower. That's pretty healthy for a cruiser, I'm not gonna lie. 90s superbike power in a cruiser is not too shabby. Harley had to petition the help of Porsche to design the V-Rod, and it only made like 120 horsepower. The Diavel handles unlike other cruisers too, with a stiff chassis, good brakes, and advanced safety tech. I mean, it's almost like Ducati makes the best sport bikes in the world, and then they were like, oh, maybe we can make a cruiser too. It's one of the few motorcycles that can allow fast boys to retire to cruiser life without totally giving up their dignity. It's stylistically about as far removed as you can get from a cruiser, but again, maybe that's the whole point. Being a Ducati product, the only downside is price. But let's be real, no one is cross-shopping a Diavel and a Rebel 1100, right? This bike is best for riders who still want superbike performance and juicy V4 engine sounds, but with less back pain. It's not for riders who want the traditional American character, understated style, or a partially value-driven machine. But if you want that cyberpunk prototype look with more power than any cruiser deserves, the Diavel is pretty hard to beat. And if that power doesn't sound good enough to you, they now do a version with the Desmo Sedici Stradale pumping well over 200 ponies. So there is that. Before I drop this next one, y'all know that this video is just my opinion, right? We're just having fun here. So I think the Triumph Rocket 3 is the best cruiser currently on the market because it has a 2.5 liter 3-cylinder engine that makes 163 foot-pounds of torque. Do I really need to say anything else about it? Triumphs are hardly ever bombastic in their styling or controversial in the way that they look. So the Rocket 3, though, is far from understated. It is a motorcycle that makes women and children cry with its presence alone. So many Japanese and European brands have tried to make a cruiser to rival Harley, and it just kind of looks a little cringe. The Honda Fury, the BMW R18 Roctane, Triumph just established their own guidelines and managed to blow every Softail CVO Milwaukee 8 131 Screamin' Eagle George W. Freedom Package Performance Kit Edition off the face of the earth completely. It should be impossible to ride, but it isn't. Unwieldy? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's slightly and surprisingly more manageable than you'd expect from a motorcycle that can rotate the earth beneath it while it tows a semi-truck. The only real downside is the price and the fact that you'd need a 2-car garage to store it because this thing is enormous. But if you want a good deal, used Rocket 3s don't go for a whole lot of money. The Rocket 3 is best for riders who want the absolute expression of unbridled maximalism. It's not for riders who want subtlety, sensibility, or less than 160 horsepower. But if your testicles haven't shriveled into non-existence from microplastics and seed oils, the Rocket 3 is non-negotiable. All right, folks, there you have it. That's our ranking of cruiser motorcycles from worst to best. Let me know which cruiser you'd be happy to park in your high school Spanish teacher's driveway. Also, Yamaha should just bring back the VMAX, right? I mean, it seems so obvious to me. I kind of want to own a VMAX now. Anyway, thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. As always, I appreciate it. I will catch you on the next one.